Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Trek Mission Log. My name is Jason Gilbert, and I want to thank you for taking some time today to join me and to check this out. I want to say a huge thank you for getting this channel to 300 subscribers. I am very excited about that. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Now, I ask, if you enjoy watching this content, would you consider subscribing to this channel? It really helps me out a lot. And if you do, please drop a comment below that you subscribed. I would love the opportunity to reply to that personally and thank you. Also, I'm on Instagram at Trek Mission Log, and you can check that out as well, and we can certainly interact with each other on that platform. Today, we are in Season 2 of the original series, Episode 18, titled The Immunity Syndrome. It aired on January the 19th, 1968. It was written by Robert Sabaroff, directed by Joseph Pevney, and produced by John Meredith Lucas. So check out this piece of trivia, and then we'll come back and we'll dive right in. The Enterprise is en route to Starbase 6 for some much needed rest and relaxation when Uhura picks up a signal from the Intrepid, a ship with a crew that consists of all Vulcans. It was a partial distress signal with a single coordinate. The rest of the message is being blocked by a distortion of some kind. As Spock was scanning, he all of a sudden became overwhelmed with what looks like some sort of pressure in his head. When Kirk and McCoy check on him, Spock said that the Intrepid had just died and that 400 Vulcans are now gone. Spock is ordered to sickbay by Kirk. After Spock leaves the bridge, Starbase 6 calls the Enterprise and orders them to Sector Gamma 7A, which is a solar system, to check on the status of the Intrepid. After Kirk acknowledged the order, Chekhov scanned that sector and said, "It is dead." Kirk came to see it for himself, and he is shocked. We then fade into the title sequence. After Spock is examined, McCoy asked him how he was able to sense the destruction of the Intrepid. Spock called it a deep understanding of Vulcan life. Comes back to the bridge, and Kirk fills him in that they indeed had lost contact with the Intrepid and with that whole solar system. Just then, the ship's deflectors kicked on. On scanners, they picked up energy turbulence, which looks like this on the screen. Kirk said that it looks like a hole in space, and it is right in line with the course that has been laid in for the Gamma 7A system. Kirk orders a probe launched with direct computer feed to Spock. The probe emitted an ear-shattering sound as it entered that blackness on the screen, and then it stopped transmitting. Uhura suddenly got very faint. McCoy called in and told Kirk that half the ship had fainted all at once, and McCoy is treating the crew with stimulants. Spock has no insight as to what it is. And Kirk said, "Well, if you can't tell me what it is, maybe it will help if you tell me what it isn't." Spock said, "Well, it is not solid, it is not liquid, it is not gaseous. It is some form of energy, the likes that which have never been before encountered." Spock believes it is likely that this is what killed the Intrepid and the whole Gamma 7A solar system. Kirk has Uhura relay a message to Starfleet that they are going to probe the anomaly to find out what it is. They then take the ship closer, and as it is about to penetrate the blackness, the ear-shattering noise is heard again and negatively affects the crew. And then it stopped, and on the screen there is nothing but blackness. The stars have disappeared. Kirk calls McCoy and asks him for help with the bridge crew as they are feeling faint. The ship has used 5% of its energy reserves. Kirk calls Scotty. Scotty has no answers as to what's going on. McCoy then comes to the bridge with a nurse, and they are giving the bridge crew stimulants. Kirk said to McCoy that the ship is in trouble and that it's like a creeping paralysis affecting the ship. He asked Spock for recommendations. McCoy said, "I have a recommendation. I recommend that we survive." McCoy leaves. Kirk gives a pep talk to the crew. McCoy then calls up to the bridge and said that according to the life monitors, everybody on the ship is now dying. As Kirk walks into engineering, the ship is rocked forward. Kirk asks Scotty what happened, and Scotty said that he was recalibrating and reversing, and it didn't make sense because the ship lurched forward. Spock called for Kirk and said that they are being pulled forward and that he suggests reverse power. And when Kirk said that Scotty just tried reverse, Spock suggested forward thrust. And when they tried that, their momentum slowed down, but they were not able to stop. Also, the life signs aboard the ship seemed to have leveled out. In a meeting, Spock said that there is definitely something in this zone that is eating energy. Scotty said that forward thrust slows down their momentum, but it doesn't stop it. Kirk asked Scotty to channel all warp and impulse power into one massive forward thrust to help them break free. And then the meeting dismisses. And so they try their plan. And when they do, the ship rocks violently, but they fail to break free. They have now roughly 2 hours of power left. Suddenly, on the screen, they see the enemy that they are facing. A probe is launched and successfully penetrates whatever that is. The probe determines that it is 11,000 miles long, 3,000 miles wide, and is made up of protoplasm. It is living, and it is pulling the Enterprise toward it. Upon analysis, McCoy said that this is a giant amoeba. Spock suggests that it eats energy itself and has invaded our galaxy like a virus. McCoy comes up with the idea of sending a shuttlecraft in there to find out what makes it tick, find its vulnerable spots so that the Enterprise can destroy it, and he volunteers. Somewhat of an argument ensues between the three of them as to who should go in. After agonizing over the decision, Kirk decided that Spock was best qualified to fly the shuttlecraft for this mission. Spock asked McCoy to wish him luck, but McCoy did not utter a word until Spock entered the shuttlecraft, at which point, under his breath, he said, "Good luck, Spock." The shuttlecraft gets ready. Spock flies the shuttlecraft inside the amoeba. It was a rough entry, but he stabilized. He encountered a severe power drain and most likely will not make it back to the ship. He is flying toward the nucleus, and before communications kick out, Spock relays that the amoeba has gathered sufficient energy so as to reproduce itself. Spock was able to successfully transmit telemetry to the ship, and they are able to monitor his movement and progress. Spock was able to get a message through stating that his life support is almost gone. He does know how to destroy the organism, and as he explains it, the message gets garbled, and he was not able to transmit. All they know is that they can destroy it, but they have to do it inside the organism. McCoy and Kirk were talking, and McCoy said that this is a virus. It is multiplying, and when it reaches millions of cells, they will be the antibodies, referring to themselves, fighting it. And this gives Kirk an idea. Kirk calls Scotty and said to divert all power except impulse to the shields. This will bring the ship inside the organism. The ship, although violently shaken, successfully enters the amoeba. We will start that over. The ship, although violently shaken, successfully enters the amoeba. When Scotty asked how they're going to attack this thing, Kirk said that since this thing eats power and matter, and that everything works in reverse, they are going to use antimatter to destroy it. He asked Scotty to rig a probe. They are heading to the nucleus to launch the probe at point-blank range. Meanwhile, Spock, who is near death, makes a log entry indicating that highest commendations be given to the captain and crew of the Enterprise, the finest ship in the fleet. At the same time, Kirk was making a log entry and essentially said the same thing about his officers, and that highest commendations be given to Spock, who gave his life in the line of duty. The probe is ready. The fuse is set to detonate in 7 minutes. They launch it, and it successfully lodges on the nucleus. The ship then backs away. As they are backing away, they pick up a piece of metal on their scanners. It's the shuttlecraft. They communicate, and Spock is still alive. Kirk orders 2 tractor beams to drag the shuttle out with them, and as they reach the edge of the membrane, the probe explodes. Suddenly, they see stars on the screen again. The antimatter explosion worked, and it destroyed the organism. They are now in normal space, and the shuttlecraft came with them. Power is restoring. Spock calls in and requests permission to come aboard, and with the shuttlecraft safely aboard, the Enterprise proceeds to Starbase 6 for their period of rest. The Immunity Syndrome is a fantastic episode. I absolutely loved it from start to finish. Was it the most exciting episode to watch? No. Was it fast-paced? No. Was it edge of your seat suspense all the way through? No. Was, however, extraordinary science fiction and a great story. So let's go through this. First and foremost, this episode takes place aboard the Enterprise, and really solely aboard the Enterprise and aboard a shuttlecraft. And I always love the episodes where the ship becomes a character. And it is great to see the shuttlecraft in operation again. Now, the premise is very intriguing. Something huge ate up a whole solar system and destroyed a ship. Spock had an emotional connection as the ship was operated solely by Vulcans, and when it was destroyed, he felt it. And we see a sadness in his eyes. It was quite heartbreaking. The Black Zone was very fascinating. I loved the tension that the crew displayed as the ship entered the black zone. And finally, we see what was inside of it, a gigantic single-cell organism powering it. This episode required a lot of thought, and that's the beauty of it, true science fiction. I think of the conversation that Kirk has with McCoy. How many cells in the human body? Millions. This single cell is 11,000 miles long and 3,000 miles wide. Imagine what would happen to the universe if that cell reproduced into millions of cells like we have in our bodies. We can't imagine an organism that large. The shots of the Enterprise contrasted with the amoeba were spectacular. I loved each one of them. The episode did a great job of including all the key characters in good and balanced way, minus Sulu. If he were in it, it would have been perfect. They all had a good amount of time on the screen. Brilliant performances by DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy here. They both shined. I love the quasi-competition between Spock and McCoy in this episode. Always good to see them disagreeing. But at their very heart, their very core, even though they drive each other insane, they love each other. Kirk displayed great leadership throughout the episode. Shatner portrayed it well, especially in the scene where he had to make a decision as to who he would send to their death, Spock or McCoy, and it was well done. It was also very cool as they were dealing with the simple-celled organism that a simple solution would win the day. Since the nucleus ate matter, they decided that antimatter would be the antibody to combat it. I think it would have been cool to see the explosion of the matter and antimatter canceling each other out, but unfortunately we did not get to see that. Sulu's absence was notable here, and when Kirk got the epiphany about the antibodies, his little Shatnerism, antibodies, it was just a little bit annoying. I love the scene near the end when Spock is recording his commendations for the crew of the Enterprise, and at the same time Kirk is doing that as well. I thought that was very, very moving. It was very, very well done. All of these things considered, this was a superb episode. I highly recommend that you watch this one. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 out of 5 Starfleet insignias for awesomeness. Watch it. I think that you will love it. Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Trek Mission Log, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Please feel free to drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I love reading all your comments, and I do try my very best to respond to all of them, though I am not perfect and I inevitably miss some. But please drop the comments. I do enjoy reading them. And I want to give you an invitation to join me next time as we examine an original series episode titled A Private Little War. Until then, take care, live long and prosper.